Welcome, race fans, to the South Boston Speedway. And today we've got a bit of a different race that we haven't had on here in a while. It is the Virtual Oval D Class series. So that means we've got these super late models here at South Boston Speedway. If you haven't seen one of these races before, these guys are usually clean and greens. This should be a pretty quick race today from South Boston, Virginia. We're here at America's home track for, again, just should be a pretty good race. I'm not even sure on how many laps we've got. I think it's about 150. I'll have to check on that. This is pretty early for the West Coast, so I apologize if I'm a little unprepared. I'll check that real quick. We've got 150 laps, so I was correct. So these guys should be clean and green for those whole 150, or at least pretty darn close, because these guys are usually always very, very clean. They have very few issues on the track. These guys are currently qualifying, so we'll check out the results real quick. Currently, Akos Bakor is right back to the top spot. John Sayerl currently in second, Marion Hensel third, Giorgio Ponti in fourth, Thomas Nolden a little ways back in fifth, Thomas Schneider in sixth, Michael Krafzik seventh, Aitor Sintes Galindo in eighth, and Andreas Top in ninth. Ladies and gentlemen, I am alone today in the booth for PSI TV, so if you guys hear me kind of just stop talking, I'm probably short of breath, just trying to fill the time, basically, if that makes any sense, so apologies there. And I believe all the drivers here in attendance have set a lap time already, but these guys can use the extra time to set some laps as practice, and it may not count any further, but it will at least give them a little bit of practice, a little bit of more of a chance to finish tuning their cars. So that's why you still see some cars on the track. And as we are getting ready for the race, we're live over on Twitch as well, so make sure you check out our Twitch at pitstop_TV. You can also check out our YouTube at PSI TV, and I believe that's where we get most of our viewers for these races, so nice of you all to tune in so far. And as always, we are live over on Facebook, and let's go down the grid for today's race. Starting off on the pole is going to be Akos Bakor. So let me get that up for you. Second place we'll have John Sayerl. In row number 2 we'll have Marion Hensel and Giorgio Ponti. Row number 3 will consist of Thomas Nolden and Michael Schneider. Row number 4 will have Michael Krafzik and Aitor Galindo. And in row number 5 we'll have just Andreas Top. That'll finish off the 9-car field. These guys do have smaller fields, but that doesn't mean that the racing isn't at least exciting. These guys generally have all kinds of action going on around the track because these are short tracks, and even with the 9-car field, we should be in for a pretty good show today. As these guys get ready to get going today from South Boston, Virginia, if you're tuning in, make sure to give us a quick like on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, whatever you may be viewing this race on, and make sure to follow us on whatever platform you are watching on. It definitely helps. And you can always message us, especially on Facebook, if you have any feedback for us. It's always appreciated. Any tips that we can get from our viewing, or our viewers, I should say, definitely helps. It's, basics of running a channel on YouTube, so that applies to Facebook and Twitch as well. So if you have any feedback, please give it to us. And then as these guys get rolling off of the starting grid, they will have 2 laps to get, formatted up for the start of the race. And these guys will come to the green flag at turns number 3 and 4 double file in 1 more lap. And to the guys in the race from the Virtual Oval Championship, I apologize about the paint schemes. Normally, car updater works. Today, car updater wasn't wanting to work. I keep hitting Control R and it's not updating the paint schemes. I'll try it one more time in a bit. But as these guys get ready to come to the green flag, it's Akos Bakor in control. John Sayerl to his outside. Green flag is out, and the number 70 off and away. Out of turn number 2, most of the field is single file already, at least through the top 5. Akos Bakor pulling away by a ton. John Sayerl further back, holding down second place. Marion Hensel loses third to Thomas Nolden. Thomas Nolden already coming through the field, and normally he doesn't have to do that, even though this is still a pretty small field. Normally he's starting from the front row, so it's interesting to see him having to come through a few cars to get into the top 3 already, but he's already gotten by Marion Hensel. Marion Hensel falls to 4th. Giorgio Ponti, rather, falls into 5th out of Italy. And Michael Schneider now into 6th place. Michael Krasik right behind him in 7th. And this battle back here, I think, will be one of the best ones all race because these guys are a bit more even. You see there's those few outliers that just pull away from the entire field. It goes before John Sayerl, Thomas Nolden among those here today. But further back, I think, is where most of the action will be. You see Michael Krasik already trying to keep up with the number 21 of Michael Schneider. And Michael Kravzik is the guy who made it happen over here at Pit Stop TV to get these races on our channel. So we got to thank him as he gets into a groove here, at least tries to get into a groove. He's fallen into 7th so far tonight. Actually started 7th, so he hasn't really made any ground or lost any ground. And right now, again, he's trying to work on the number 21 of Michael Schneider. I haven't seen Michael Schneider in one of these races before, I don't think. So it's cool to see him out here and racing with these guys. We did miss last week, actually the last 2 weeks. One of those I was in Daytona for. The other one, we had a bit of a technical failure. So apologies to everybody there. But we are back for the final, I believe, 4 races of the season. I believe this is a 9-race season for these guys. And this is race number 6 from South Boston, Virginia. Akos Bakor already has a 1-second lead, but one thing that I like that I'm seeing out of the number 7 of John Sayerl is he hasn't totally let Bakor get away. It's not exactly a small gap by any means, but he hasn't let that number 70 get out of his sights just yet. Further back, we see a battle starting up for 3rd place. Marion Hensel has not gone anywhere. He's still trying to pressure Thomas Nolden into a mistake to get that 3rd position back, but these guys won't get too physical with these cars. Being an American, I know a lot of us Americans like to get really physical with the super late models, or really anything on a short track, and these guys won't do that. I guarantee you they will refrain from getting physical with these cars. They like to have just clean grain racing. If they get a position, they get a position. If they don't, they don't. And that's what we're seeing already here. And actually, Michael Schneider starting to come up into the battle for 4th. He's going to try and get by Marion Hensel. And Michael Krasik has fallen back a ways. So already Michael Schneider starting to make pretty easy work of the number 99, Marion Hensel. He hasn't totally gotten by him yet, but working that bottom side, he's just got a better line for the corners. And obviously Marion Hensel can still use the top line to get a run out of the corners, but it's not quite enough just yet. And I think here you'll see the 21 finally clear the 99. Almost does. 99 comes back on the top side, and then he'll fall back. And I think now you'll see Michael Schneider take over that 4th position, rather, as he goes to work on Thomas Nolden in the 51. And later tonight, if you're more interested in the super late models than anything else on this channel, you are in luck, because if you come back later tonight, Sunday, March 4th, you'll have the NMNTS PSI TV Super Series from the Las Vegas Bullring. Should be a great night of action. I believe we'll have 200 laps. So that one will be a long, grueling run, and I believe we'll have guys like Kenny Yance, Jackson Allen, and Tyler Justice and more in attendance. So it should be a great night down in Las Vegas. The next 2 nights we'll have NMNTS action from the big Las Vegas Motor Speedway as well, and so that's worth tuning in for. If that's not quite your speed, I believe we'll be back, I hope, with more iRacing Weekend Warriors action this coming Saturday. If not, we'll start to work on a new deal for Saturdays. And if you want to reserve us, just contact us on Facebook. This is where we normally do our streams on Facebook, but we also run a YouTube channel and a Twitch channel where we stream it to as well. And again, ladies and gentlemen, please do utilize the chat feature on all 3 platforms. It really helps us, you know, set up future streams how you guys want them if you let us know exactly what you want to see. Again, I'm alone tonight, or this morning actually, as it's still 8:40 in the morning, but that's not quite the story for these guys. I believe it's late afternoon for these guys over in Europe, but certainly still early in the morning for me anyway. But definitely helps if you can get us some feedback. And back up to the front battle here at Coast Bacor. Well, it's not really a battle. Bacor has pulled away by a few more tenths now from the last time we checked in on John Sayerl. John Sayerl trying to make up some time, and will even go on board with the driver as he tries to get something going here in the number 7. And again, a lot of these guys from, I believe, I guess you would say that Dayach? I really don't know. It's, I believe, it's just categorizing a region. I'm not sure with the iRacing clubs, honestly. I never really got into the whole iRacing club idea, but these guys are all from across the pond. That's basically what I'm trying to say there. And so these guys won't get quite as physical with these cars as some of us Americans would. I know most of our viewing base is American, and I am as well. So, yeah, I think you'll see a lot more clean green racing. I think we've only had 1 caution in our tenure broadcasting these guys' races. Minus at Daytona, that doesn't really count, but at least in this series we've only had 1 caution throughout 3 races now, so we'll see what Michael Schneider actually can do on the inside of Thomas Nolden. He's trying to make easy work of the 51, and it hasn't worked out just yet. Thomas Nolden holding off Michael Schneider pretty successfully so far. Looks like Thomas Nolden's car isn't quite up to par with everybody else tonight, as it looks like he's holding up Marion Hensel as well. So he wasn't exactly the fastest in qualifying, wasn't exactly the fastest in practice either. So it's interesting to see these struggles coming out of Thomas Nolden after such a great start at Southern National and even at Concord. Thomas Nolden has pretty much held off that number 21. I think you might see Michael Schneider continuously poke his nose to the inside, but not really do anything too aggressive at this point. Obviously, you don't want to tear those tires up, and these guys are going a whole 150 laps, and I think their tires will hold up for that entire length. Fuel as well, so again, you'll see the 21 kind of poke his nose down there, see if he can get something, but I don't think he's going to make anything too aggressive. You see him back out when he starts to get a little free. But moving further back, Michael Krafzik has fallen into the clutches of Giorgio Ponti, the Italian driver, trying to follow up a great run at Concord a few weeks ago. We didn't see the 2 races in between. I believe those were Myrtle Beach and Lanier last week, so we'll see if Giorgio Ponti can continue a little bit of minor successes in the series. I believe he actually finished 2nd at Concord. Did pretty well over the long haul of the race, and we'll see how he does tonight at South Boston. Just behind him, Aitor Galindo in the 53, kind of riding behind him, seeing what he can do with Michael Krasik, and Andreas Topp has fallen all the way back to 11 seconds behind the leader. Doesn't look like he has the greatest car here today. The number 10 currently running in 9th place. Michael Schneider still trying to work on Thomas Nolden. Hasn't found daylight just yet. Marion Hensel's staying pretty patient right now in the 5th position, a little ahead of these guys. They're actually starting to work up towards John Sayerl, as John Sayerl is starting to fall off the pace. He's now 2 seconds behind leader Akos Bakor, who also started on the pole and led every single lap and won by 2 entire laps at Concord Speedway in Concord, North Carolina, the last time we carried a virtual oval D-class race. So we'll see if Akos Bakor can back that up. Obviously, it looks like he is so far. I mean, he is just pulled away, and the lead so far is massive. Only 40 laps in, and he's got a 2.1 second lead. And it looked for a while like John Searle was going to keep up with him. So the fact that he's lengthened that out now to over 2 seconds is just wild, really. And he's going to start catching up to Andreas Topp in 9th place in just a few laps, I think. Marion Hensel, again, staying pretty patient right now in 5th place. I think he's got to try and make a move on these guys as soon as an opening, I guess, presents itself, though. You can't wait too long, or the tires might not be in the right condition to start making moves and get by the 21 of Michael Snyder and the 51 of Thomas Nolden. So we'll have to see what Hensel does. I think he'll probably wait for an opening if the 21 can ever get fully to the inside of the 51 of Nolden. If Snyder can get down there, I think that might open up the opportunity for Hensel to try and steal 4th place back from Thomas Nolden. And, I mean, he started 3rd place and he's fallen to 5th, and I think part of that was because of Snyder. So if he can follow Snyder on through, he might be able to start working on Snyder and actually try to get back into 3rd position where he qualified. Just hasn't had the speed just yet to make a move, and I think that's a good thing. I don't think you want to make a move just yet. You want to wait for an opening whenever Snyder's able to get down there. You never know. They might be in contact too, so you might want to just wait and see what you can do. Obviously, Hensel employing that strategy. Right now, Thomas Nolden, though, is really just doing everything he can to hang on to that position. And now I think even, Giorgio Ponti has now caught up to these guys. He got by Michael Kravzik and quickly caught up to this battle. Kravzik further back, trying to hold off Galindo, and it's not quite working for him. You can see the 22 with some troubles here, trying to hang on to that spot. The 53 really all over him right now. Again, guys, if you haven't seen one of these races before, this is the Virtual Oval Championship D-Series. Oh, and actually contact. Not Giorgio Ponti, Aitor Galindo got into Michael Kravzik a little bit. They'll continue on, but if you haven't seen one of these races before, this is the Virtual Oval Championship D-Class Series. These guys run the super late models on short tracks all across America, and they are not exactly from America. They are from across the pond, so that's why you'll see a lot of these races go clean and green, and you see these big margins for the lead. You see Akos Bakor 2.5 seconds ahead. Thomas Nolden another 1.8 seconds behind 2nd place. You see these big gaps because these guys race for pretty large distances and keep it green flag, so the field gets spread out. So if you're thinking it's not exciting, well, you're wrong. This is actually pretty good racing that they have going on here with Thomas Nolden and Michael Snyder. Giorgio Ponti now joining the fight. Marion Hensel has been staying pretty patient, but you see him starting to get a little pressured by the 00 catching up. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if Facebook isn't quite your speed, we also stream on Facebook. And, not Facebook, sorry. I was reading a comment, but if Facebook isn't your thing, there we go. YouTube and Twitch are also available for your viewing pleasure over here at PSI TV. We try and stream to all 3 platforms as much as we can. And, I'm not even sure who that is. NASCAR 8874YT. Huh. Well, I'm going to remove those comments. If you're over on YouTube, you'll see what I mean. But definitely try and use that comment section for good things, I'd say, instead of what he said in the chat. Definitely let us know what you think of the broadcast. And, you know, this might be a little more of a quiet sound for me. I'm still pretty much half asleep. But I like doing these races. It's something different to see these drivers come out here and run green for so long. And Michael Snyder has pretty much put the pass on Thomas Nolden. Looks like he'll clear him there finally 59 laps through the race, and he finally got by Thomas Nolden for third place. Now he gets to go to work on Andreas Top, the lapped car. After that, he'll get to start working up towards John Searle. And John Searle's still in second place, hasn't really fallen back too much since the last time we checked up on him. Actually, with that battle going on with the 21 of Snyder and the 51 of Nolden, he's actually lengthened that gap over third place by a little bit, and now you see Snyder starting to get into his zone and pull away from Thomas Nolden, who I think just is having an off day with the setup and the car in general, and he's starting to really hold these guys up. I'll tell you what, Giorgio Ponti is there. He's making moves. He's gotten by Marion Hensel now. Now he gets to start trying to work on Thomas Nolden. And that won't exactly be an easy task. Thomas Nolden, even if he's a little bit slow one day, having an off day, he's still really hard to get by. We saw evidence of that with the 21 battling with Nolden for so long. Once Schneider finally got by him, though, he set sail, and I think we're going to see Ponti do the same thing once he gets into fourth place, if he can get into fourth place, because he's got a pretty good car under him. He left Michael Kravzik in seventh place and just took off, caught right up to these guys immediately, pretty much within a few laps, I think. Immediately caught up to these guys, and so he's got a piece under him. And again, ladies and gentlemen, tune in later tonight for more super late model action. This time it'll be from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway Bull Ring. And we should have 200 laps on hand again for the NMNTS Super Series later on. Names like Tyler Justice, Joe Burchett, and Bradley Wilson will be in attendance. Michael Redding should also be there. We'll be counting on Mike Bruno, hopefully, to be there as well and try and back up a really good run at New Smyrna last week. Tyler Justice will be going for 3 in a row, actually, in that series. He won Five Flag Speedway, won at New Smyrna Speedway, so as we leave Florida for a new state in the U.S., we'll see what Tyler can do. Tomorrow night, if super late models aren't quite your thing, we'll be back to Las Vegas Motor Speedway with the NMNTS SimSpec Championship Series. That's going to be the NASCAR trucks at Las Vegas. Should be a pretty exciting race. The following night, we'll have Cup action from Las Vegas for the NMNTS Racing Series. And if you want to book with PSI TV, just let us know, and we will get to talking with you. We have Wednesdays fully open, Thursdays for the right price, Fridays is actually dedicated to the Dirt Racing Challenge Series, but Saturdays may be opening up very, very soon. So if you want to contact us and reserve your spot, just let us know, and we will try and work it out. But right now, Giorgio Ponti really on the back bumper of Thomas Nolden, not going away. And contact, actually. Marion Hensel gets into the back of Giorgio Ponti, sends him sideways. He hangs on to it. Now we'll see exactly what that 00 has. It's not going to hurt him, I don't think, too much. In the long run, at least. He's got some rear end damage, but I don't think that's going to do too much to him. As now we'll get to see exactly what Giorgio Ponti can do if he can catch right back up to Thomas Nolden. Obviously, he's got a great car underneath him. And if he can't, well, then we'll know that he's worn those tires out just waiting behind Thomas Nolden. And that's kind of my fear for these guys, that when they catch up to Nolden, if they wait too long, they're not going to have the tires. And we'll see exactly how Ponti fares as he tries to catch back up to him. But further up ahead, Michael Schneider has all but caught John Searle. He's only about 2/3 of a second behind him, and he started out over 2 seconds behind him. So that 21 is making quick work of the gap up to John Searle, and soon we're going to have a battle for second place. Michael Snyder has now worked up another couple of tenths up to the number 7 of John Sayerl. Further back, Giorgio Ponti is now under fire from Marion Hensel. Marion Hensel getting back to work on the 00. And the 99 now looking pretty sporty in 6th position, actually, as he's trying to get back into 5th. He'll do it right there, but here comes Giorgio Ponti back on the top side, rather, trying to make something happen. This isn't trigonometry. I don't know why I said sine. But now, actually, Marion Hensel to the bottom side of Thomas Nolden. And, oh, contact from Ponti into Nolden. Going to get Nolden sideways. They're going to fall behind Marion Hensel now. And you see the bumpers actually getting used a little bit tonight. I don't think necessarily intentionally that Giorgio Ponti got into the 51 of Thomas Nolden a bit. Damaged his right rear. They'll keep going, though, as now, Marion Hensel will move into the 4th position by quite a bit, actually, over the 51. Further ahead, John Sayerl has been caught and passed quite easily by Michael Snyder for the 2nd position. John Sayerl now to 2nd, or to 3rd rather, and John Sayerl to 3rd and Michael Snyder to 2nd. I got ahead of myself there a little bit. And now we'll see if the 21 of Snyder can try and work on a 4.3.5 second gap up to Akos Bakor, and that's not going to be easy. This number 70 is always on rails when you see him in the Virtual Oval Championship D Series. You see now Galindo, Kravzik have both gone a lap down as well, and Bakor is right on the back end almost of Andreas Top to put him a 2nd lap down tonight, and it's only lap 84 of 150. You see John Sayerl has about a 5-second gap over Hensel. Thomas Nolden, Giorgio Ponti going to continue battling. Giorgio Ponti still on the back end of Thomas Nolden. Hasn't been able to make a move just yet, but he's certainly poking his nose down low, trying to let Nolden know that he's there, but just behind him, Bakor is starting to catch up, so either Ponti's going to have to make a move now before they both go a lap down and possibly get split up, or he's going to have to have the 70 basically use the 51 up and basically follow the 70 on through when Bakor comes by to lap both of these guys. He'll have to try and do something. He can't wait for too long. Giorgio Ponti being a little too patient right now. Actually, here comes a run. He's going to go to the inside. He's got his nose down there, about even into the corners. And we'll see if Giorgio Ponti can complete the pass, and he will do just that so far. Actually, no. The 51 drawing even with him out of turn 2. Now Ponti has him cleared. Nolden in the wall. Nolden's going to fall into 6th position. Thomas Nolden falling way back so far tonight, but Giorgio Ponti moves into the 5th position. He finally gets by the 51, and now the 51 about to go a lap down, falling into the clutches of the leader, Akos Bakor. Thomas Nolden is not going to let Bakor go quite that easily. He's giving him the inside lane, but that doesn't mean he's letting up at all out of the corners. Down the straightaways, he is still fighting, and now you'll finally see Bakor get on by Thomas Nolden. He's not going to challenge him too hard, but he definitely didn't go down without a fight. A little further back or further forward, whichever way you want to look at it, Michael Snyder has, again, moved into the 2nd place. Now he's working on the 22 of Michael Kravzik once again. He'll get on by Kravzik. That is not for position. That is to put Kravzik a whole lap behind the 21 of Snyder. Now Snyder continuing to work on Bakor. He's actually made up about 4/10 on Bakor, but it's still not quite enough. Obviously, you only have 55 laps left. You're going to have to make up a lot more time than that per every few laps on Bakor, but he is starting to work on him just a little bit. John Sayerl has fallen back to about 3 seconds behind the number 21 car of Michael Snyder, so John Sayerl actually pretty solidly in 3rd place. He's got a 4-second gap on Marion Hensel. Marion Hensel almost had a couple of issues there with Thomas Nolden and Giorgio Ponti, but he finally got through it into the 4th position. Now Marion Hensel running a pretty decent race right now, almost on his own in the 4th position. Giorgio Ponti now trying to stay on the lead lap. He's got a pretty decent car. That's why you haven't seen him go a lap down just yet. Bakor hasn't totally been able to catch him. Now lap 100 of 150 for the leader, Bakor. He's going to come around to complete lap 100 here in just a moment. 100 laps in the books, and what did I tell you at the start of the show? I mentioned this would be a pretty clean and green run. These guys have gone now 100 of 150 laps, totally green flag at South Boston with the super late models. These are pretty wide cars, pretty heavy cars, and not a single caution has come out. We've seen contact a few times. It's not like these guys haven't used the cars at least a little bit. And again, these guys like to run clean and green, so it's not surprising to me. But if you're a new viewer to this series, you might want to tune in some more, because these guys put on good racing. And granted, you know, there's only a few cars in the field. It's definitely somewhat exciting, because like we saw with the battle for to get by Nolden for so many laps, be it John Sayerl trying to get by him or Michael Snyder trying to get by him, it was a good battle, I thought, and it was fun to watch. RD Nation saying he's going to win at Vegas in the MNTS SimSpec Championship Series. We'll see if he can. And actually, Ryan, why don't you come up? If you can, you might be able to come up and spectate or something. At least lend us your voice for a little bit. Would be nice. Over on Twitch, I believe we've got a couple of viewers there as well. So it's nice to have everybody at least utilizing one version or another of this stream. And again, we are on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Please do check us out on all three. Twitch is pitstop_TV, YouTube is PSI TV, and Facebook is pitstop space TV. Marion Hensel now working by the number 10 of Andreas Top. Andreas Top going to go down pretty much with very little fight. He's just holding to the bottom side and letting these guys go on by. Pretty much on the apron, too, in the corners. So Coach Bakor, again, solidly in first place, and has actually lengthened his lead back out. Now that he's gotten by Giorgio Ponti, he's lengthened his lead back out over Michael Schneider. Michael Schneider starting to fall back a little bit. John Sayerl, though, is definitely nowhere in the range of battling with Schneider. He has fallen way back, now 6 seconds behind the number 21. Marion Hensel actually could be battling with John Sayerl here soon. Giorgio Ponti, again, has been lapped now. Thomas Nolden is falling back quite a bit. Looks like he missed the setup on this car. Michael Kravzik actually could be catching up to him relatively soon. Actually, no, sorry. I believe those guys are a lap apart, possibly. Heitor Galindo in 8th place has fallen back a little ways as well. Blake Tuberville saying can't hear the motors. Well, we'll fix that. We're going to go to a crank it up real quick and let you just hear the motors. So turn your volumes up. I'll do the same and just listen. contact. We'll crank it down a little bit. Contact with the 21 and the 99 both. They keep it going. Marion Hensel going to take over third position. Sorry, it was the 99 and the 7. John Sayerla is now spun out. He's going to be spun out in turn number 2. We'll see if he can get it back going. We'll get a quick replay on this in a moment. I was just watching the crank it up like you guys were, and all of a sudden we had a car spinning. We'll go back and see what happened here. Marion Hensel was trying to get by the number 7. Just a little bit of contact. Got him sideways. Got him spun around on the speedway. And you see the result of that right there. John Sayerla going for a spin. He tried to get it back going, then spun out again. The reason there was no caution for that was simply iRacing's caution parameters not exactly detecting cars on the inside as a risk to the field. And so since he was on the inside on the apron, did not detect it as a risk to the rest of the field going by on the speedway. That's why we didn't see a caution for that incident there. But John Sayerla went around, and he's going to lose a ton of positions, obviously, since he's now in the pits. But Akos Pacor obviously going to continue on like nothing ever happened. He's now led 122 of 122 laps. So, ladies and gentlemen, Akos Pacor is the real deal. We'll have to see if we can get him into the Super Series over in NMNTS, maybe. Probably a little bit late for him, but if he has the chance, it'd be interesting to see what he can do with guys like Tyler Justice, for example, who has won now 2 of 3 races. 2 of 2. What am I talking about? We're not that far into the season. I'm trying to skip a week ahead, man. But Akos Pacor pretty solidly going to win this race, I think, as long as he hangs onto that car for 25 more laps. Michael Snyder currently in second, about 5.6 seconds behind. Marion Hensel, you saw him get into John Sayerla. Now John Sayerla trying to get back onto the speedway, and Marion Hensel in the wall again. See, most of these guys have beat the right sides off their cars by now. Giorgio Ponti, though, one of the exceptions. But Marion Hensel currently in the third position. He was working up to the number 7 of John Sayerla, was going to try and pass him and just got into him a tiny bit and got that number 7 sideways. We saw the result of that. He is a lap down now, though. Giorgio Ponti would be catching up to him for the position, I believe. Yeah, he would be. He would be catching up to the 99 rather, for the position. Thomas Nolden further back, currently in the 5th position. He got 5th since, you know, 7 went around and lost all those positions. So John Sayerla going to fall to 9th place, 9 laps down so far. Michael Kravczyk currently, I believe, 3 laps down, 2 laps behind Nolden, if this telemetry is correct. No, 2 laps down, 1 lap behind Nolden, I believe. And so Kravczyk just trying to cruise home to a 6th place finish at the moment. Not the greatest day for the number 22. Not the greatest day for the 53 either. Aitor Galindo actually raced with him in NIS yesterday morning. But Galindo certainly not having the day maybe he wanted to have here at South Boston, but at least going to finish in front of a couple of guys. That's going to be Andreas Topp and John Sayerla, so it won't be a huge bust at all for him. He'll still get a decent amount of points. He's actually about to fall victim to the 70 once again. Let's check back in on Andreas Topp. Again, just having an off day, trying to salvage something, trying to keep running as many laps as he can. Obviously, that's going to work out for him. He got by the number 7 of John Sayerla when John Sayerla went around. And now John Sayerla coming back on the track, actually, as we're talking about him. Looks like he'll finally get back up to speed. The number 7, John Sayerla, again, went for the one spin that we've seen so far tonight. We've seen contact here and there, but we finally saw our car go around, and it looks like he's going to get back going, no issue. Looks like that car is still in pretty decent shape. He got 4 Mr. Feelgoods on there, rather than 4 Mr. Desert Eagles, or I don't, wow, 4 Fresh Desert Eagles. Something is up with me, man. It is early in the morning, and I don't know how to speak, apparently. Akos Pacor is now lapped all but 1 driver on the track with him. Obviously, he can't lap himself. Marion Hensel, again, is a lap down now. Michael Snyder, 7 seconds back. It looks like he'll hang on to the lead lap at least. But another dominating performance out of Akos, putting almost the entire field at least one lap down. At Concord, it was 2. Aside from, I believe, Giorgio Ponte actually hung on to be 1 lap down. Man, just what a run from that number 70 tonight. And it's not like this is uncharacteristic of McCord. He does this all the time, at least in this series. And just, yeah, putting on a great show right now, that number 70 pulling away. And obviously, close racing and maybe some wrecks is, you know, exciting to every NASCAR fan. Maybe not to every world racing fan, but at the very least, it's exciting to stock car fans. And I think this is another kind of exciting, though, because you see just Akos putting on this domination. You saw it with Dale Earnhardt some days in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series of old. You've seen it with Jimmy Johnson recently, Martin Truex Jr. even more recently. And that kind of race is also rather exciting to watch sometimes. And it's just a driver going out there leading every single lap like Bakor is fitting to do. He's only got 8 laps to go, and ladies and gentlemen, I think this is the guy to bet on for the championship. I'll actually go back over the website real quick, and I'll get you the point totals coming into tonight. Give me just a moment to do so. As we'll watch Akos Bakor continue to tick the laps down. We're going to check these guys' point standings out real quick. And Akos Bakor now working on his 5th win in a row. Thomas Nolden won at Southern National. Ever since, it's been that number 70 winning every single week in this series so far. He's got a 19-point lead over Thomas Nolden. That's only going to go up. Giorgio Ponte is in 3rd coming into this race about 24 laps back, or 24 points back, sorry. Michael Krafzik comes into this race tied with Mark Kiss, actually, for the 4th position in points. Andreas Top in 6th, John Searle in 7th, Aitor Sintes Galindo in 8th, Marion Hensel 9th, Steve Clays, actually, we haven't seen him on PSI TV just yet, in 10th. Either way, though, another dominating day for the number 70 of Bakor, and he's only going to add to that points lead as Thomas Nolden has fallen into the 5th position for the day. So that points lead only going to get bigger and bigger. This is actually going to tie Thomas Nolden's worst race finish. I believe we saw that at Concord as well. And yes, that was at Concord. It's going to tie his worst race finish of the season at 5th place. He's finished in the top 3 otherwise, and well, he's not going to keep that streak up of at least finishing in the top 3, all but one event of the season. White flag is out for Akos Bakor. He's going to come home to a big victory in South Boston. He crosses the start-finish line. Akos Bakor is your winner from South Boston, Virginia. Again, a dominating victory for the driver of the number 70. He's going to come home and lead 150 of 150 laps from South Boston, Virginia. And it looks like he'll opt not to do burnouts here tonight. He certainly had the right to. I'm not sure why he didn't. I know I would have after a win like that, but he's just going to bring it home. And what a win for Bakor to now make it 5 races in a row. And the first race of the season at Southern National, actually did do a small burnout. First race of the season at Southern National, he finished 2nd. So to have now an average finish of something like, I don't even know, I'd say probably 1.17, I think, is the math. I'm not even certain. I mean, just either way, a great average finish out of him so far in 2018. Well, ladies and gentlemen, race fans alike, that will conclude the coverage here tonight of the, or this morning actually, if you're in America, of the Virtual Oval D-Class race at South Boston Speedway. Got to thank everyone for tuning in. We're going to quickly go through the race results here from South Boston. Again, Akos Bakor going to lead every single lap en route to a big victory. Actually, these results are showing Giorgio Ponzi fell way back and actually ended up a lap behind. We'll check on that in a moment, but Michael Snyder, at least on the results, going to come home in second. Marion Hensel third. Giorgio Ponzi fourth. Thomas Nolden fifth. Michael Kravzik in 6th, Aitor Galindo in 7th, Andreas Top in 8th, and John Cyril, unfortunately, with that big spin, falling to 9th position. Let's quickly check on Giorgio Ponti and see what happened with him. We'll see if we can figure out what goes on here for the driver of the Double O. Sorry, I was all wrong. He was 4th. I was thinking Concord again, so that's my bad. I was in the complete wrong race. I was a few weeks behind. I don't even know how I did that, but he will come home in the 4th position. Sorry about that. That was just a big blank in my head for me. And we'll quickly look at the race summary. Akos Bakor again going to come home in 1st place. Laps complete 150, total laps 150, and he led all of them. No cautions and no lead changes, unfortunately. It is nice to see some lead changes. Didn't see any of those tonight. But this has been the South Boston Speedway for the Virtual Oval D-Class Championship. Got to thank everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next week with, I believe, action. Ooh, actually, I totally forgot where we're going to next week. We'll check on that real quick. We'll be at Five Flags Speedway on March 11th for 150 more laps, followed by New Smyrna and Thompson. So everybody make sure to tune in for both, or actually all 3 of those races left in the season. And again, if you like super late models and you like racing, definitely tune in later for action from the Las Vegas Bull Ring for the NMNTS Super Series. This has been Pit Stop TV. Andrew Cardinelli with the call. Please tune in later. We will see you next time.
Please keep coming, hold me now, and I will never let you down. I said, please.